What's up guys, Mike here, and today we're going to be talking about 7 players who were never able to fulfill their full potential. Now, these players, for some reason, be it injuries or a cocaine problem, and yeah, we've been talking a lot about cocaine on this channel recently. The cocaine era in the 80s was horrible. But anyway, these players should have been great, but something held them back. And before we jump into this, I just want to ask you guys, please watch until the end. Never asked you to do that before, but I have something I want to talk about with you guys, so just watch until the end, please. Number 7, David Thompson. Let's play a game. I'm going to show 2 players' stats at the age of 23. One is Kobe Bryant, one is David Thompson. You guess which one is which. Player A, 22.5 points per game, 6.3 rebounds per game, and 4.9 assists per game. Player B, 27.2 points per game, 4.9 rebounds per game, and 4.5 assists per game. Yup. Player A is Kobe and player B is David Thompson. At the age of 23, Thompson finished 3rd in the MVP voting and led the Nuggets to the Western Conference Finals. An ultra-athletic guard, Thompson was at one point the most explosive player in the NBA. And then he discovered cocaine, which ruined his career and had him out of the NBA at the young age of 29. The cocaine era in the NBA had many casualties, and Thompson was probably the second most tragic, which leads us to number 6, Len Bias. The death of Len Bias is probably the most tragic story in all of NBA history. A 6'8" wing with incredible athleticism and a nice jump shot, Bias was seen as a natural future rival for Michael Jordan, and he was on the perfect team to be that rival. Because after some crafty maneuvering from Red Auerbach, the Boston Celtics were able to select Bias with the number 2 overall pick in the draft, and they had just won the NBA championship. Bias was supposed to be the successor to Larry Bird, the next great Celtic legend, but tragedy struck. Just hours after the NBA draft, Bias collapsed while celebrating his personal success. Not long after, he passed away. Later on, reports would reveal that Bias had died of a cocaine overdose, making him the poster child for just how bad the NBA's drug problems had become. Number 5, Greg Oden. From the first time he stepped onto a high school basketball court, Greg Oden was considered a future NBA All-Star, a future Hall of Famer, and, of course, a future number 1 overall draft pick. And he did become one of those things, but he also became one of the biggest busts in NBA history. Greg Oden has to live with the fact that he will be on top 10 NBA draft bust lists until he dies, which sucks because it's not really his fault. Oden's right leg is shorter than his left, a condition that when combined with the strain of an NBA season left him with a career full of knee problems. And his right leg is only shorter than his left because no one took him to a doctor for months in the 6th grade, even though he was walking around with a noticeable limp. People already forget that he was a first-team All-American as a freshman and led his team to the national championship game. The guy should be a defensive force in the NBA right now. His body just failed him. Number 4, Ralph Sampson. At 7'4", Ralph Sampson was a physical freak, and that's not an insult. It's just the only way to describe him, because while most men his size were barely able to run up and down the court, Sampson was actually a fast big man with a nice touch. These abilities allowed him to be an all-star for the first 4 seasons of his career, and remember, he was so good at one point that Houston declined a trade offer of Clyde Drexler and the 1984 number 2 pick, aka the right to draft Michael Jordan. Combine this with the fact that he was paired with Hakeem Olajuwon, a perfect frontcourt partner with him, and Sampson should have spent his prime racking up stats and picking out rings. Instead, he, like many big men his size, was ruined due to knee injuries. But here's the worst thing. Sampson wasn't predisposed to those injuries. They only took place after he experienced one of the worst falls in NBA history, landing directly on his back in the old Boston Garden. After the fall, he started running differently and put more pressure on one knee, which led to his injuries and the Lakers winning a few more titles. Number 3, Grant Hill. Grant Hill was a 7-time All-Star, 4-time second All-NBA selection, and a 1-time first-team All-NBA selection. He is unarguably the most successful player on this list, but the thing is, he only tasted success, while he should have been drinking bottles of it. In the summer of 2000, Hill was going to be a free agent and was in the prime of his career, a fact that dominated the news at the time. As that season went on, Hill began to feel extreme amounts of pain in his ankle, Not wanting to appear soft to the media or his fans, he played through that pain, averaging 25.8 points per game until it was discovered that his ankle was broken. That summer, he signed with the Magic, giving them what appeared to be an unstoppable wing duo of T-Mac and Hill. Unfortunately, Hill came back from his injury too early and was never the same. So instead of possibly performing the impossible feat of leading a team with T-Mac on it to the second round of the playoffs, Hill lost out on his prime and missed a chance to really write his name into NBA history. Number 2, Bill Walton. From the start of the 1977 season all the way up until the 61st game of the 1978 season, Bill Walton owned the NBA. His team, the Portland Trail Blazers, won the 1977 NBA championship while he was named Finals MVP. The next year, the Blazers started the season at 50-10 and were clear favorites to repeat as NBA champions. And then, Walton injured his foot, an injury that would force him to miss the remainder of the season. And even though he missed those last 22 games, he still was named the MVP of the league. He was that dominant, and he was only 25 years old. To put this into perspective, imagine if Anthony Davis won the NBA championship next season, won the MVP the year after that, and then never made the All-Star game again. That was Bill Walton. And number 1, Penny Hardaway. The year is 1996 and Penny Hardaway is on top of the world. At the young age of 25, he had already won an Olympic gold medal, been named a member of the All-NBA first team twice, and outdueled Michael Jordan in a playoff series. Based on what NBA history has shown us, Penny Hardaway should have built upon his early success and had a long and successful career. But he didn't. Instead, Penny did not make an All-NBA team after the 97 season or an All-Star game after the 98 season. So what happened? Well, to put it simply, he, like many before him, had bad knees. After the summer of 96, Penny struggled with knee injuries that zapped him of his athleticism and explosiveness. Add this on to the departure of Shaq to LA, and in a matter of months, Penny went from one of the NBA's brightest young stars on one of its best teams to an injury-riddled former phenom who would never fulfill his full potential. Which is unfortunate, because at his best, Penny was compared to a young Magic Johnson. He was a 6'7" athletic point guard who could both set his teammates up and score with ease. Nowadays, people remember Penny as Shaq's first sidekick, but really, he was Shaq's first wingman, a player whose future was so promising that Nike built a signature campaign around him. But again, like many before him, Penny was not able to fulfill his potential, and that's what makes him one of the greatest what-if players in NBA history. And so there you have it. 7 players who should have been all-time greats. Honestly, looking at this list was just depressing to me because we missed out on so much good basketball. And if you're still here, thank you for listening to my earlier message. If you're not a subscriber already, I would appreciate if you subscribe. We're doing a lot of cool stuff here. But regardless of that, I think I'm going to start streaming on Twitch. I've been thinking about doing it for a while, honestly, and I think just the perfect time to do it would be the start of the NBA playoffs, because that way I could talk basketball with you guys, and I don't know, I think it'd be a lot of fun. Like, I'd play some NBA 2K or whatever, but in reality, we'd all just be watching the NBA playoff games, chilling, talking basketball. I really think it'd be a great time. So here's the link to my channel. I'll put it right here. I'll put it in the description. If I get some followers, I see there's interest, definitely going to be doing it. Definitely want to do it. So let's just do this. And as always, guys, have an awesome day. And I haven't been doing this in the NBA videos. Not sure why, but we're going to start. Cue the music.